What's up, everyone? All right, so we've got a lot to cover today. This was unbelievable. Everything came together this morning. We had a stock that met all 5 pillars of stock selection and gave picture-perfect chart patterns that helped me understand low-risk entry, exactly where I was going to get in with a tight stop, and what my profit target would be. I was able to execute on those trades and lock up over $55,000 in profit in about 2 hours of trading just this morning. It was unbelievable. So how did this all come together? Well, those of you guys that watched my game plan that I uploaded yesterday, Sunday, which also gave you my watch list here for Monday morning, I said in that episode, I had a couple stocks that I would keep on watch. It was MSGM and SHFS. Those were the two that I was keeping on watch. But I also said I'd be closely watching the scanners to see what stocks are popping up, because I knew there could be a stock that all of a sudden pops up early Monday morning that wasn't already on the scans from Friday or from Thursday. And so that would be something that I would pay attention to. And today, that's exactly what happened. We had a stock that had breaking news at 8 a.m. and it screamed up the scanners. I mean, this thing just took off. It was unbelievable. But I knew from the very beginning that this was something to pay attention to because I understood the importance of the headline. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into it. We've got a lot to cover here. Now, before I do, let me say one thing. Those of you guys who are already taking part in a 2-week trial, you guys were able to watch all of this action in real time. But what I'm gonna do is tonight, I'm gonna upload my live trading archive, the actual live recording with my commentary of every single one of those trades from this morning. You can see my orders window, you can see everything right in there. Now I'm gonna share that with you so you can really get insight into how I'm able to execute on this strategy, my entries and my exits very precisely. So those of you guys who are not already doing a 2-week trial, if you join the 2-week trial, today, I will email you this live trading archive as well, so you can watch it. That's going to be from today. So my live trading archive, where is it? Let's see. So it's right here. So this is where I actually go through all of the trades right here, and you can see me placing the orders, pressing the buy button, the sell button, etc. So this is something that you guys are really going to enjoy. I'm going to put that up here. Now, while I'm streaming every single day, you guys get to see my positions window. So that's right there. This is the monitor that I'm screen sharing and streaming each morning while I'm trading. And by the way, I saw one comment of someone who said, Ross, I'm doing the 2-week trial. I couldn't figure out how to get logged into the chat room. All right, so before I break down UPXI, let me just show you how to get logged in. All right, so when you're doing the 2-week trial, you can come log into the members dashboard, warriortrading.com/dashboard. Now, by the way, those of you guys who haven't already checked out the link for the trial page, this is the link here. You've got either my 90-minute long, about 2-hour long, free online class, which is one of my first chapters of one of my courses, full-length courses. And then we have the 2-week trial right here. So the 2-week trial is $19 for 2 weeks. So you sign up for the 2-week trial, you go through the checkout page, everything else, you do your checkout cart, and then you can come over to warriortrading.com/dashboard. You log in with your username and your password. Once you're logged in, you can click on this button right here to enter the chat room. The trading simulator is not accessible during your 2-week trial. However, you do have access to classes that are part of the education portal right here. And this is actually where we'll give you a link to watch the live trading archive. All right, so you'll click here to enter the chat room. You enter the chat room, and this is the platform that's gonna launch. You're gonna have the charts, the scans, the news feed. And you can go over to this little chat icon. You click on this, and you click on the small cap room, or you could click on any of the others, but the small cap room is where I'm streaming. And then right when you're in that room, you will see that there's actually a small little icon that displays when I'm streaming. So this is right here. And if I was streaming, this would be red. It would say live. So that would be the button that you click right there to launch my broadcast. All right, so that's how you get logged in. So hopefully, if you haven't already done that, you'll be able to get logged in this afternoon, this evening, and stream tomorrow morning. Okay, so UPXI. Well, let's start first by looking at the 2 stocks I had on my watch list on Sunday night that I uploaded, which were based on stocks that were moving on Thursday. So we just came off a 3-day weekend. This is throwing me off a little bit. So MSGM was the first one. Now, MSGM, I said, you know, it did close strong on Thursday. However, it sold off a little bit at 4 a.m. It pops back up a little bit, and I had it on watch right here because it was on my watch list. And I said, you know, guys, I just don't know if I could take a trade on it. The volume is very light, and it doesn't have a fresh catalyst, and it's not actually gapping up. it closed Thursday, at about 280 and is now at 240. So it's actually gapping down slightly, which means it's not the top of the gap scan up, it's on the gap scan down. So if I open this other scan here for top losers, this morning it would have been actually on this scanner. This is not the scanner I'm using to try to find momentum stocks to day trade to the long side. So I said, even if it comes back up to 280, it's only going to be up 0% on the day. And generally, I need something to be up, at least 30, 40, 50% in order to be one of the top 5 gainers on the day. And if it's not in the top 5, top 10, people aren't going to see it. It's not going to work. So as it popped up here, I said, no, I'm not falling for that. I'm not going to jump into it. I can't trust it. It popped up, it dropped back down, no trades. I'm glad I stayed patient. And then we had SHFS that came up on the scanners as well. And on this one, I said, it had no news on Thursday and it pulled back. It's popping up a little bit, but I just don't think I can trust it. You know what? It did go a little bit higher and I did not trade it. Well, it is what it is. I just felt like without a fresh catalyst, I couldn't trust it. So at 7 a.m., when I first sat down, which is when I launched my broadcast, I didn't have anything I had those 2 I was watching, but I didn't have any trades that I had taken yet. 7 a.m., I was hoping maybe we would get some fresh news, but we didn't get any fresh news. And then at 7:15, 7:30, still no news. 7:45, still no news. 8 a.m., boom, we get news. So now I'm going to go to the tool icon here. I'm going to go down to the newsroom. Now, the newsroom has its own live broadcast that runs, which we speak the headlines when they come out so you can listen. So if you're not reading them in real time, you can at least hear them. So UPXI has news that came out at 8 a.m. and we got it on our news feed here at 8:02. Now, if I scroll down on the high day momentum scanner, we're going to scroll back on this. Essentially what happens is the stocks have news and UPXI had news, and the news came out at exactly 8 a.m. But you don't always know if news is going to create a move in the stock. There's a lot of stocks that have news and nothing happens. So rather than looking at every single headline that's coming out, I wait for stocks that are actually starting to move before paying attention to them. So that's the way we've kind of trained this. Once something is starting to move, then we take a look. So if we go back here to 8 a.m., so 7:57, MSGM was on the scanners, and I said, nope, I'm going to be patient. And that was a little hard. I wanted to take a trade on it, but I was like, no, just be patient and wait. And then UPXI hits right here at $3.02. So here's my workflow. I saw it hit the scanner. I then look at the news feed to try to see what's the headline. And I saw UPXI right here, that was the latest post. It was right here at 8:02 a.m. So I was like, okay, we've got news on it. So what do? I click on the ticker. When I click on it, it updates my charts right here. And then while those are updating, I come over to my level 2 window and I type in the symbol UPXI. I click enter, and now all I have to do is press Shift 1 and I'm in a position. But wait, before I jump in, I got to make sure there's a pattern that I like. And so this is the way I approach this. I pull up the chart, I'm looking at it, and there's 2 things that happen at the same time. The first is I see that it has just popped up right here. So it's just popped up, and it's not insignificant, from 220 all the way up to $3. So I'm like, okay, this thing is clearly moving. I like this. And then I'm like, why is it moving? So at that moment, I look at the headline, and what did I read? It's a $100 million private placement. That is a headline that means something to me. Now, it might not mean much to you, but what I know is that we've seen some other stocks that have had private placements that have made extremely big moves. So what is a private placement? A private placement is a way that a company can raise capital. And so a company, when they want to raise capital, they only have a couple of ways. One is they do their initial public offering. And then the second is they do a secondary offering after they've done the initial public offering. So they sell more shares on the market. Now, a secondary offering can have an underwriter, but those shares can be sold directly on the market. So on a day when a stock squeezes up 200, 300%, you can have an investment banker who's just pressing the sell button, boom, sell 10,000, sell 10,000. And they'll just sell 2 million, 3 million, 4 million shares over the course of the day. And every time they sell, those are new shares that are going onto the market, and all the proceeds go to the company, minus the underwriting firm's cut that they get for pressing the sell button about 150 times. So that's the way a lot of these small cap companies will raise money. They'll do secondary offerings selling on the open market. But a private placement is a little bit different. A private placement is when the company is given money from usually an investment firm. And that investment firm may collect capital from accredited investors, but nonetheless, that investment firm is ultimately making the decision to infuse this company with capital. So a $100 million private placement is essentially, what that tells us that there's an investment bank out there, a firm, that did their due diligence and likes this company enough to give them $100 million. That's a lot of money. And so that to me is a vote of confidence. Now, could the company be wrong, the investment firm? They could be, but it's going to be a pretty expensive mistake at the tune of $100 million. So they essentially bought $100 million worth of this company. And they were issued about 42 million shares based on the previous day's closing price. So now the stock goes up, 900%. So think about this. This is kind of crazy. Think about how much money that company just made. Essentially like 900 million today, almost, on paper, at least. But they're not going to lock that up unless they sell. Now, typically these companies, these investment firms are not just going to do a private placement and then sell the next day. Although clearly in this case, they could have. And there's probably enough volume to support quite a bit of selling. There's 96 million shares of volume, but I'm not sure that, whether or not they could even sell this soon is a question. They may not even have access to the shares yet. The deal has been inked, it's been signed, but they may not even have access to the shares. So nonetheless, at the very beginning of this move, what I know is that we've got a company that has just received an infusion of $100 million cash. And that is a big deal. So this is now a company that is not going to need to do a secondary offering where they press the sell button 100 times in one day anytime soon. And there's another investment firm out there that, in their opinion, this was a good investment. Now, it was a good investment at $2.40, which is where they got in. But nonetheless, that was the initial catalyst. So the stock drops down, and when I saw right here that it was a private placement catalyst, I jumped in. And so I bought first candle to make a new high on the 10-second chart. And that was an entry right here. Now, in the live trading archive that you guys are going to have access to later, I'm going to go over all of this with you, and you're going to see in more detail the way I place my orders, the way I'm actually getting in and out. So I'm going to give you this commentary here, but you're also going to get it. For those of you guys that are doing the 2-week trial or who are full-fledged Warrior Pro members, you'll get access to the live trading archive. So first entry was down here at $2.84. First candle to make a new high. And I added at 306 for the break through the high a day right here. And then it squeezes up, and when instantly it was up to 350 and 375, I was like, okay, we've got a stock on our hands that is moving fast. So I went ahead and added. I added for the break of $4. And I even added as high as 402. Now it hit a high right here of about 425, and then it stalled out. When it stalled out and started to drop back down, I took some profit off the table. It dips back down right down here. It pulls back. It sort of bounces off this level, comes back up, and then it drops again. I connected these two lows. I said, all right, maybe we've got some ascending support here. It comes down again. I'm buying the dip. Now I'm looking for the break back up through the high. Comes back up to about 390. Not bad for a dip trade. It pulls back again, comes back up. Actually, right there, and then it's going to come back up again in just a second. So we ended up kind of going sideways here, but however, holding up right in this level between about 330 and 380. So I also got a nice double bottom right down here. And the reason I bought that right down there off of about 330 was because I kind of looked at that as being support. So we had a double bottom there. We had another double bottom there, triple bottom. We come back up right here and we squeeze through 380. Now, this is my only problem. I had this yellow resistance line drawn here. So I was sort of like, we're kind of coming right into resistance. So we ended up coming up to this 425 spot. We pull back a little bit. We pop up to 470. But we've got this topping tail candle. I'm not sure about that. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, it's ripping up to $6. And I said, that's going to be resistance. Why? Daily chart, 200 EMA. So I knew the 200 EMA was right here at about $6 a share. So we came right up to 6, and I was like, all right, that's probably it. And I'm going to give it a chance to pull back. So now we're going to switch to the 1-minute time frame. So on the 1-minute chart, and I'm going to switch to auto, you can see, well, first of all, this is one of those candles that is really scary. That's a scary candle. This went from 18 to 22 down to 15 in 1 minute. That's insane. That's really scary. So I wasn't trading during that time anymore. I was already done with it. But here, let's go back to this area. So this was our first pop. So trade this on a 10-second time frame. We got the pullback, the pop up to 380, then the pullback there, the break up to 440, micro pullback 440 all the way up to 5, micro pullback all the way up to 6. 200 moving averages right here. Thought that'd be resistance. Pulls back, comes back up, breaks the 200, I'm back in. Holds over the 200, nope, back below it, dips down, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere right here, it squeezes again. And this didn't make a lot of sense to me because the MACD was actually negative when it broke. So I didn't take that breakout, but I got in after it pulled back right here. And look at that pullback. Picture perfect. You guys, that is awesome. That first candle to make a new high, I immediately grabbed a screenshot. I was like, this, it doesn't get much better than that. That is a beautiful pattern. So, you know, and again, like this thing just, it was so strong. So it goes up to 11. That was where I actually did the very best. And then it pulls back here, comes back up, rejects, comes back up, rejects, and it was a little choppy. And then it ended up popping at the open and peaking at about 14 before pulling back. And then this area was a little choppy until finally, you know, you got that peak, red candle, and then it went a little bit higher right here on this candle before now pulling back a bit more. So, okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna leave it at that for my recap. And I'm now gonna get into the live trading archive, which I'm gonna record starting right now for all of our members at Warrior Trading and for those of you guys doing the 2-week trial. This was just amazing. I mean, it was really awesome. And when you see this in real time, where I'm actually pressing the buy and sell button, I think you're gonna be inspired. It's just so exciting. So if you're not already doing the 2-week trial, make sure you guys check it out. It's 2 weeks, 20 bucks. You can get out a lot out of it. I think you'll really enjoy it. And as always, let me remind you, my results are typical. Trading is risky. So please take it slow, manage your risk. And if you want to check out this episode that I'm gonna put right here, this year, I made $1 million in 51 days. That was just about a record in terms of speed to make $1 million. So I've got a link to my breakdown of how I did that right there, and I'll put another full-length training right here. So thank you guys as always for tuning in. Take it slow, and please practice in a simulator as you're learning these new strategies, and I'll see you in the live trading archive.